Welcome to this edition of True Democrats. Trying to get these Democrats to get a little bit nastier against these Republican challengers or incumbents or whoever they're challenging or whoever they're running against, and to get them across the finish line before the Republicans and try to attack or counterbalance the attack on these Republicans and their lies and the deceit that has led us to a Republican-led Senate and a Republican in the president's office. And we've just recently had the third and I guess it's the second debate between the two candidates for president. They had their town hall meetings, but certainly the last debate before the election, and we really did not learn anything new. Well, that's not true. I think we learned a lot of new. I don't think we've learned anything new from anybody who knew who they were going to vote for. I don't think there was any kind of big revelations. I can't believe there's people that are on the fence. I'm not quite sure what they're doing or what they have in their life, that they don't know who these two men are who are running for the biggest office in the world. We were enlightened, both psychological examination, I think, but also policy. We've had more policy in this debate than the first debate for sure, that turned into an eighth grade shouting match at lunchtime. This one was a lot more reserved, and we actually did get some policy numbers, or some policy between the two men who are running, Joe Biden and, of course, President Trump. But a psychological study is very interesting, putting the muzzle on President Trump in this election. For one thing, it was very calm and very kind of slow, I guess, in the beginning, but didn't seem, you kind of had to, I was gripping the chair waiting for the chandeliers to get jumped on or the glasses to get thrown across the room. But nothing really happened, which was, thank goodness, a relief. It was a normal, as you can say, normal debate. But it's interesting when there isn't that bluster, when there isn't that screaming and yelling. And we all know this president has nothing, but the nothing comes out even louder. And basically he has the first debate, like a bar debate, somebody having a debate in a bar. They figure the one who screams the loudest is in the right, is going to win the debate. And that's what happened in the first debate. Here you kind of moved the curtain away, and he didn't have anything. He didn't have anything. He didn't have policy. He didn't have factual numbers. The other thing that was great is that we learned from President Trump, that was his trademark for 4 years, is just making things up on the fly. And of course, he made things up on the fly, but he's recreating those made up things today. And just between Hunter Biden's payouts to Joe Biden when he was vice president, and Hunter Biden, I guess they were talking about Hunter Biden as he got out of the military and nobody wanted him. I mean, President Trump, I guess, is a good storyteller. I mean, if he's going to tell a story about he was miserable and nobody wanted him, and then all of a sudden Dad became the vice president and he got a $100,000 job in Ukraine or whatever it is. But
his son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the vice president respond to that quickly, and then I need to get to.
I mean, he's a storyteller, but, as they say, don't let the truth destroy a good story. Unfortunately, that's what this president has done. And, of course, we need our president to deal in the truth. But the first question of the day is, of course, the biggest one about the coronavirus to both the gentlemen. And basically, without the bluster, without the screaming and yelling or interrupting, President Trump just does not have anything to offer this country as far as what he's going to do if he gets reelected on the coronavirus. We already know what he's going to do. He's been there. It's been about 7 months. Well, listen, we knew it was in China, I guess, in January. So He's been dealing now with this for 10 months. And his only call for action is that we're turning a corner, and we've turned many corners now. We've been around the block 6 times, of a serum, a medical cure for this disease is coming soon. You know, just like it was going to be done in Easter, just like in the spring it was going to be gone. That is his strategy, just hoping that it'll go and these scientists will quickly get a serum, a vaccine to get rid of it.
Please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital. I had it, and I got better. And I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure. But I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators. We're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
And that's my favorite line of the Republican health care back in 20 years ago when they were talking about Republicans and their health care. It was to walk it off, endorsed by every high school football coach in the country. So he just wants to walk this off. You get sick, don't even worry about it. Go back to work. You get sick, you get sick. He's going to take away your pre-existing condition clause in the Obamacare. So that's what we have to look forward to. Basically nothing and just the same, and let's just hope. Obama's hope and his hope are not exactly the same thing.
We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine.
And I guess the other hope that we have is he's got Operation Warp Speed in effect. What is Operation Warp? Well, I guess Operation Warp Speed is when a vaccine comes together. They'll be able to distribute it. So I'm very comfortable. Maybe he'll get that right. Yeah, good luck. Warp Speed. The people in Operation Warp Speed aren't even in the control room. They probably don't even know where the control room is right now. But perhaps Operation Warp Speed is a kind of another operation totally, where we're trying to get November 3rd, or whatever the date is for Tuesday when we tally up the votes. Operation Warp Speed is let's get there soon and let's get there fast.
But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do.
And the other thing, psychologically, I wonder if there's a tag, or we call people who have to verify what they say by saying, oh, somebody else said it was good. This president has done it. Well, this Donald Trump's been doing it his whole life. In interviews I've heard, even before he was thinking about running for president. But I know other people that do it too. Oh, they like this a lot. I said this and everybody laughed. And I like this whole, what are you going to do when you get elected about the COVID virus spreading through this country? Oh, I got a lot of phone calls from everybody. Everybody's saying what a great job we're doing. Nobody gave him a phone call. He doesn't have a plan. That's the bottom line. Joe Biden, on the other hand, at least he's following what the CDC and the scientists are saying. Wear masks. He's also saying we have to open up the schools, and he's going to give finances to the schools. So at least he's just not like Betsy DeVos or Trump. They got to go back to school, and they're just leaving these teachers on their own. You have to finance. You have to get a plan. You have to make sure these children and teachers are safe. So at least the fact that he says that we need to have finances in order to do that is 1,000 years in advance than what this administration is doing. And of course, testing. Testing was the big deal from the beginning. Testing and tracing, isolating, finding out where this coronavirus is so we can stop it. Take care of the people that have it, isolate them, keep it from spreading. That was the whole point. So now we're going to have to do it again, which should have been done March, April. But that's the key component. Again, if he said we need money to open up schools, you need money to do more testing. So Joe Biden right off the bat has actually a plan, but at least he has details in his plan. Then we've come to the interference. Once again, our election is being interfered with. 2016 and now 2020. Who's in charge of the federal government? Trump. The best is that I'm not quite sure why the Democrats don't see good material in front of them that they can use. I mean, is anybody using today the fact that now not only Russia was by themselves 2016, now Trump opened up the floodgates. The Republicans opened up the floodgates. So now we have Russia, China, and Iran trying to interfere in our election. So our complete security has totally collapsed under Trump. Where are these Democrats running for Senate or any kind of office, federal office, or Joe Biden attacking this guy? He's totally destroyed our whole defense for anything. And he's just clueless. And of course, we know that him and Russia, I love the fact that he's talking, well, this is another problem with Democrats also. The witch hunt, he stakes the claim as the witch hunt. The Democrats, this Mueller, they came up with nothing. And of course, he can get away with that because the fact of the matter is, when the Mueller report came out, the Mueller report stated that he had 10 counts of obstruction of justice trying to derail this investigation. And yet the Democrats didn't take the Mueller report. This is what happened in the Mueller report. The Mueller report came out. Bill Barr, the Attorney General, took it, blacked things out, and say, oh, this exonerates President Trump. President Trump said, oh, this exonerates me. What did the Democrats do? Democrats didn't come out one after another and say, no, you had 10 counts of obstruction of justice. You broke the law. You are a president who tried to influence a major investigation based on your actions with a foreign player, in this case, Russia and Putin, who happens to be our number one adversary, or maybe number two after China. But there was no back and forth. It was only President Trump saying this was a witch hunt. This is a witch hunt. I got exonerated. It doesn't say anything. So basically, the Republicans have a great game plan and it works. The fact that they're able to keep winning elections. It's to have policy by repetition. Trickle-down economics. It's failed. Reagan showed it failed. George W. Bush showed it failed. This Trump showed it failed. But they keep talking about it, so it makes it sound like it's legitimate. So they keep repeating, and people start believing it because there's no pushback. And the Democrats do not know how to push back, and I'm not quite sure why. But with this 10 counts of obstruction of justice, no Democrat, and it should have been all of them in the Senate. It should have been AOC and Nancy Pelosi say 10 counts of obstruction of justice. He broke the law every day. Broke the law. That's what the document said. Oh, unerase the document that Bill Barr blacked out. National security, they'll say. No, it's not national security. It's a crime. You're blocking out the crime that President Trump committed. So basically, he can come out and say that he was exonerated because there's no blowback. And of course, Joe Biden didn't even come out and say that. He did say that he tried to bribe the Ukrainian leader to try to get bad information on Joe Biden. Thank goodness he came up with that. But you have to be able to push it. You can't win on your own. You got to get some other foreign country to try to make things up about this, about your opponent. But that's what these Republicans keep getting away with, and that's why they keep winning elections, and why the people who are not informed enough out there in the Midwest and the West keep voting for Republicans, even though it's against their best interest.
Every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House, because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
And that was completely about the Republicans giving up on this country, giving up on the people in this country, and basically throwing everybody under the bus and abandoning Americans. And of course, Trump is a great defender of these guys, because he can just, we got to the part of the debate where he started bellowing and started interrupting and started getting a little bit more animated, which is okay. I think everybody was into it by that time. But there he is. Why don't you make a deal? And he can't make a deal because of Nancy Pelosi. Of course, Joe Biden came back that the Democrats had a deal, although he was a little bit more specific, which you have to kind of be, I believe, in politics. Be specific, especially if you're on the right. The Democrats and Nancy Pelosi had a deal and a package ready to go in July, in the beginning of July, because everything was going to run out at the end of July. So they did their part. They had everything ready. They were going to support the economy, support the businesses. They had everything ready to roll in July, and the Republicans refused to look at it. They let everything expire, and they continued just to do nothing, including stop the coronavirus. So this should be, hopefully these candidates, especially Amy McGrath in Kentucky. I mean, if you got the head honcho, Mitch McConnell, out there in Kentucky running for his life, you got to say, listen, you left the American people hanging out to dry, and you don't pay your taxes, so you want tax money to support everything, and we need tax money to support anything, and yet these guys don't even want to pay their taxes. That's the whole idea of tax money. Keeps this country secure, it keeps it afloat when we run into problems. But it also goes to show, and I don't know why Democrats don't emphasize this also, who cares about the American people? Who's in charge? Who actually cares? And of course, Donald Trump, what did he say? Nancy Pelosi doesn't care about the workers. Of course, she had a plan that continued to support the workers. And yet, the Democrats have to push this, especially out there in the Midwest and the West and all these red states. Just something else to show that the Democrats care about the average American worker, and the Republicans keep abandoning the American worker, and somehow the abandoned American worker keeps voting for the Republicans. And I'm also glad to see that we've actually touched on, which has not really been a main focus in this campaign, but the climate change was touched on at the end of this debate. And I love that may be the only it may be the only handicap for Joe Biden in that debate, but it's a handicap because he came out with facts and he was honest and truthful, and he said the oil industry we got to cut down on.
That those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that in fact pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And there are more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one.
Would you close down the
falls-
oil
By the way, I
industry?
would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop,
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal. But you
That's a
can't
big
do that.
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give
right.
it to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry.
Trump was right that these states, Texas, Oklahoma, rely big time on oil. So that may be a challenge. It's close in Texas. I don't think it's that close in Oklahoma, although it should be. The senators, Innenhoff, should be in a battle with Abby Broyles, who keeps trying to get him to debate, but he doesn't want to debate, wrote a letter instead saying that his opponent's going to lie to him. But you got to get out in front of the voters and say that should be points for Abby Broyles, but we'll see. But I don't know how that oil deal is going to hurt or help Joe Biden, although he's not running a campaign in Oklahoma, although he should. You should be running a campaign in every state that has a Republican incumbent up for election to help these Democrats try to turn the Senate blue. Why he doesn't, you got to be able to. What amazes me is, okay, this Joe Biden wants to run for president. Okay, I understand that he's got ideas. I don't know if it's just for himself or he wants to do it for country, but you also have to plan. And running for president is different than running as a senator or a representative, because in order to get things done, you have to have the Senate and the House on your side. And we've seen it with Clinton, we've seen it with Obama. You don't want a short or a small margin of error, so 51-49, 52-48. You need some breathing room so that when the midterms come, you can, even if you lose a couple of seats, you can still take control. But it just blows me away that he does not campaign in Oklahoma and help Abby Broyles. He does not campaign in Tennessee to try to help Bradshaw, who's running as a Democrat for the Senate. I'm not sure if he has backed Amy McGrath, and I understand his coronavirus and all that, but you can go with 5 people on a farm in Kentucky or Oklahoma and say how these terrorists are destroying farmers' businesses with 5 or 6 people, but it gets in the papers, it gets in the news, and it gets free publicity, and that's important, especially for these Democratic candidates. Idaho with Paula Jordan, the Senator Risch is completely useless. And I mean, this guy is a typical rich, privileged white male who has a Senate seat, is sitting there. He's in charge of the Intelligence and Foreign Committee. And we've totally declined in foreign affairs. The intelligence got this coronavirus. He did nothing. Forget about the United States. He didn't do anything to help his state, Idaho. And so we have a great candidate, Paula Jordan, who can use Joe Biden's presence in Idaho. And the same thing. Not only is coronavirus is eating up Idaho, but also the farmers over there getting crushed by these tariffs. They need Joe Biden's help. He should go over there and campaign with him. And that way it'll help his policies get passed. All these senators are going to be grateful. Be like, okay, I may disagree with that, but since you came and got me here in the first place, I owe you one. I'll give you that vote. I'll give you the vote on the budget, even though a lot of people are getting taxed in my state. That's how those things work. But you need to get those favors piled up so you can use them later in policy. I'm not quite sure why that wasn't thought of before he began his campaign as president. But back to the environment and climate change. I love Trump.
I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds, It's very intermittent. It's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a scientist said that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet.
Talking about the fumes and windmills and all this other stuff, and he hated that stuff since Scotland when they put it near his golf courses. But
and you know who developed it? AOC plus 3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC plus 3. Look, their real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. Right. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6.
Oh, that's AOC. I guess that plays big. AOC plus 3. That plays big in the Midwest and in the West. And she doesn't know what she's talking about. Listen, I got news for you. She's earned everything. AOC plus 3, they all earned what they have. Not like this guy who has stolen anything. And I still don't understand why in this debate, you know, he wants to keep talking about Biden-Hunter. Trump keep talking about Biden-Hunter with Joe Biden. He wants to talk about Hunter Biden. And yet Joe Biden does. He talks about this character. You know me and you know him. He's talking about Trump. And you know about character. But remind, and not only remind, you have to tell, because a lot of people in the Midwest and the West don't know who this Trump is. You have to remind them about the military charity that he stole from, the fake university that he stole money from students and gave them something worthless, that no American bank would lend him money. I mean, connect that to the account he had in China, his trademarks he got in China while the farmers are getting their livelihoods destroyed by tariffs. I mean, you can add that. But the fact that he's talking about AOC earned everything that she has, including the seat in the House of Representatives, which she won with a popular vote, unlike this Donald Trump. And, you know, we should point that out to everybody also. So she's a lot smarter than this guy has or any kind of Republican has or is, any Republican is. But the best line, I guess, that sums up the whole clean air and environmental policies that both these guys have. And of course, Trump is completely against it, calls it a Chinese hoax. And Biden just came out with the basics.
The future lies in us being able to breathe.
The future lies in us being able to breathe. And oil's not going to do it. Coal's not going to do it. You know, that's the policy. And he laid out the policy. And he was honest about it. And, you know, listen, he says we're going to ease in. I wish he'd give a little bit more detail of how we're going to ease away from oil and into those power cars and electric cars. But ease into it as far as all those people working for the oil companies, how we're going to get them into jobs in a smooth transition and they're not going to lose jobs like Trump is trying to hint at. But very stark debate. As I said in the beginning, I don't think anybody's changed their minds. And again, I don't even want to know who's on the fence. I mean, at least you're going to vote if you're on the fence. But what are you looking at? I mean, what do you need to know to be on the fence? Very good debate, though, and he came out with policies, if you had policies, and instead of just complete rhetoric that this Donald Trump keeps coming up with, and the old bar analogy and bar debate, just screaming, yelling, making things up. He got calls from people saying he did a great job. Like, that's a big deal. But we have, in 2 Tuesdays, we'll start tallying up the votes, and we'll see what kind of country we have. In the meantime, let's get these Democratic candidates to forcefully attack their Republican opponents. Republicans will make up nonsense against them. You have the facts and evidence on your side. Use it. And let's keep the House of Representatives. Let's get these candidates to flip the Senate big time. And we need Joe Biden in the White House. This is Adam Carr. And until next time, this is True Democrats trying to get these Democrats big landslide wins in 2020. Good night.